Alright, Schlockmeisters fans, we're going to watch a Joe Yamato, Laura Gemser, Lily Karate, The Pleasure, 1986. Let's check it out. Gabrielle Tinti. The movie starts out in the 1930s where he listens to reel-to-reel tapes of his wife talking dirty.
Oh, yes. I want to shower.
We then have a flashback where he tells the story of how he met Leonora.
In a pagan Venice, a city of wild debauch, of sin, seductively corrupt, and fascinating. You would enjoy the
There she is.
company.
Have you been drinking a lot, monsieur? That you assume a lady so idly met would readily agree to such a proposition? I suppose it's sexual. Where does love come into it?
Give it time, Leonora, and love could well fly, you'll see.
Anyway, she mentions that he should court her, but then a little while later on, they're in the streets and she lifts up her dress and she's got nothing underneath, and yeah. She immediately takes him to some, like, opium club or something, where next thing you know, an orgy breaks out. Can't really show you much of that. Then the unthinkable happens. I don't know why, but she dies, Leonora. This is Lily Karate, the maid, fawning over her body, which is splayed out naked on a bed for God knows why, but that's why I can't zoom in. So he calls on his stepchildren, Ursula
My name's not Leonora.
and Edmund.
It's Ursula.
Ursula, my, how you've grown up.
Ursula is played by the same actress who played Leonora, by the way.
If it was you or my mother who didn't want me to visit here. This is Edmund.
Edmund? You've become... He was never married to a
Edmund
woman.
has
They
some
were
mommy
lovers, no more
issues.
than that.
I won't allow you to talk about mother that way.
Oh, Ursula, do you really think I'm such an innocent fool? I knew mother was nothing but a whore! A whore! A whore! A beastly whore! A beastly... Edmund!
Ursula calms him down by breastfeeding her brother.
Mother always used to calm him down this way whenever he became ill.
There's no breast milk there, but yeah, I guess I'd do it too.
You'll be all right now.
Now, being the good maid that she is, Lily Karate, who plays Fiora, she bathes both the kids. She gives a little extra attention to Edmund, although she gave the same attention to the girl too.
I'm a virgin and I want to be a man.
Oh, dear boy. I'll help you, of course.
Again, the good maid. Apparently, Gerard had a cuckold relationship with his wife.
Foot with jealousy and shameless desire, knowing what she was doing, feeling the heat of it, allowing it to happen.
This was in a movie theater where she got felt up by the guy next to them, a stranger. Ursula finds the dirty tapes that her mother made and decides to tease Gerard. She wants the same relationship with him as her mother did.
Please take me, because I'm yours.
Here she is listening to those tapes.
One time in the country, I had noticed how she and the groom, Boris, used to look at each other whenever we went to the stables. So I knew in the back of my mind that there was a sexual attraction between them, which upset me. Yet I found it exciting to contemplate.
Anyway, Leonora decided to join a brothel,
hardly believe my eyes. You see, your mother wasn't like the
so her daughter does the same.
She didn't do it just for money. I know. I don't need money either.
After playing on some swings, she decides to seduce him again. Will he give in this time?
That's what she really wanted. And I wanted it too. I wanted it as I never wanted anything. You know that's true, don't you? Special privilege.
But he's going to deny her once again.
Mine I'm giving you. Oh, please take me, Gerard. I'm ready for it.
No, I can't. It's wrong. You're just a child, Ursula.
I got waylaid. 4 young men in a car.
She tells Gerard a story.
I wasn't scared of them because they were so young and nice. They were about the same age as I am. They said, would you like us to take you for a ride?
But you fell for that line?
It sounded all right. They were young. I kept crying.
But is the story real?
Then one of them took me violently from the rear. Another tried to penetrate me in front and shouted at me. Go on, slut. Fuck if you can. Yes, I was unable to cry out then, even though I wanted to desperately. Because one of them had filled my mouth with sperm.
Gerard goes to feel her up to prove whether she's a virgin or not.
You stupid little liar.
She is.
And I desire you, Gerard, with all my heart.
But she makes some tapes for Gerard this time.
You refused me. You treated me like a poor superficial girl with no sense and no morals, always looking for cheap thrills. I wanted to give you my virginity, the most precious thing I have. Yet you refused it, Gerard. There's a woman who stands between us, a silent presence, a woman who lies cold and still in her grave. You are obsessed with the memory of my mother. Listen to my voice now, as I tell you that I am masturbating, Gerard, thinking of you. I am masturbating as I imagine your pulsating penis as it penetrates me and possesses me, making me yours.
I guess all the dirty talk got to him because he gives in. He goes through some legalities about
Is she still a virgin?
being their legal
Fail
step
to see
guardian.
what relevance that information has.
Well, if the case should prove to be that of a rape, it certainly would.
Yes, she's still a virgin.
Even though apparently she's no longer a virgin, she gets auctioned off.
900 lira. Yes. I'm sorry, I still have nothing to tell you.
I know where they can be found. They're at Casa Rosa.
Oh, but isn't that a bordello?
It is. They're both underage, so either you remove them for me or I'll be...
Well, you'll be what, Signor Antonini?
You mean you knew about this?
Yes, I admit I did know. It's been common knowledge in Venice for a couple of days. Your young ward, Ursula, was sold in an auction.
Why should I want to be engaged to anyone? Anyone at all. Except you.
That's absurd, don't you realize?
What can I do to make you see I mean every word I say? Do you want me to give myself to every client who comes to this bordello? While you hide and watch? The way you did with my mother.
Her movie basically ends with them being together again. Are they going to be a couple? I don't really know. All right, let's talk about The Pleasure. I had this movie on a bootleg VHS tape that I got, God knows where, I don't know. It's directed by Joe Yamato, stars Lily Karate, Gabrielle Tinti. Gabrielle Tinti's a real-life wife at that time, Laura Gemser. I almost didn't recognize Gabrielle Tinti. He's the star of this movie, or co-star. And he died 5 years after this movie was made. I believe 1991 he died. But I didn't recognize him. He looked much older, and he did some movies in the early 80s that I've reviewed before, and he always had that similar look throughout the 70s and early 80s, but it looks like he really aged between early 80s and 1988 or 86, whenever the hell this thing came out. But anyway, this movie stars Gabrielle Tinti. He's been, I don't know if he was married or what, to this woman named Leonora. She has now passed away. He lives in some palatial estate somewhere. He's got a maid, Lily Karate, and after the woman dies, the woman's two kids come. There, I guess Gabrielle's he plays Gerard's stepchildren, Ursula and Edmund, and they look like they're in their mid to late 20s, but apparently they're 17 and 18. Whatever. Anyway, they show up. I guess they haven't had much of a relationship with these two, but whatever. They come to the house. Gerard has some old reel-to-reel tapes. This takes place in 1930s. Reel-to-reel tapes of his wife. I don't know what they were married actually, but Leonora talking about sex things that she did, dirty things. Apparently, she was a good wife to this guy, but she also on the side used to hang out at a brothel and sleep with men. Gerard was somewhat bit of a cuckold, and he kind of enjoyed this, and I guess he liked the stories. I don't know, but whatever. The stepdaughter, Ursula, finds these tapes, listens to them, and she's a virgin, but she wants to be just like mom. So she goes to that brothel as well, and we end up auctioning her virginity off. although it doesn't quite, they don't quite make the sale. Meanwhile, throughout this movie, she's constantly seducing her stepdad, seeing if she can get him to take her, which eventually he does give in. He fights it off for quite a while, but then eventually he does get in, and they do have sex, and they have sex later on again. It's weird because after they did it the first time, then she went to the brothel to be auctioned off her virginity, but I don't believe she had a virginity anymore. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, it's kind of hard to follow, but ultimately he gives in to her again, and then they have sex again, and then I don't know how this movie actually ended. It just kind of stopped. Were they going to be a couple at this point? I don't think so, but I don't exactly know. And of them, there was just a final scene with them on the street, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of this thing. But that's The Pleasure. Anyway, Il Placer, I think, or something like that is the original title here. And like I said, directed by Joe Yamato. It's pretty dirty, actually, this one. It's not hardcore by any means. It's all softcore stuff. But there's some nice close-ups of some female genitalia in this movie. There's some lesbian scenes. Laura Gemser's scene is very, very brief, actually. And if you blinked, you would miss her. And seeing as the quality of this burned DVD isn't that great, you might miss her anyway. Not available on DVD in this country. I believe it is available on DVD in overseas somewhere, but on a PAL version, and does not have an English language soundtrack. So instead of getting that one, I decided to burn my bootleg and make some homemade box art here with this cartoon picture on the front. But anyway, that is it. Really got not much to say about this. I know a lot of the Blu-ray companies, Severin and Scream Factory, or not so much Scream Factory, but Vinegar Cinema, they tend to pull movies like this and release them at some point. I'm waiting for this one because I've got a few of his movies actually that have never been released yet, so it's about time. I want to upgrade my bootleg, so come on, people. Anyway, check it out, The Pleasure. I'm curious, has anybody else seen this movie? Like a lot of the movies I review, these types of movies, no one else has seen this shit besides me, right? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, leave some comments. Let me know what you think about The Pleasure. Watch it. Bye. Keeping this shit alive.